This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
The biggest icon in podcasting.
Welcome in, everyone, to this week's edition of the DocNJock Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Adam the Jock Straczynski. On today's show, Cody legit hurt? This wrestler is a free agent, and WWE could be bringing back this one-off pay-per-view. So I guess it's not really a one-off. It could be a two-off pay-per-view. We'll see. This is your Elimination Chamber results show, as well as your AEW Revolution Go Home show. A lot to get into. Helping me sort it all out, break it all down, talk about everything. He's the one. He's the only. He is the Doc, John Macaroon. What's up, cuz?
Cuz, you know that every episode I really enjoy recording, but this one might be my favorite. We're going to recap one of the great PLEs of all time. Industry-shaking moves were made. It was awe-inspiring. It was great. Well delivered. Everything storyline related. So much can happen over the next year with WWE. It's going to be great. I can't wait to recap it all. Elimination Chamber lived up to the hype. And even, we got to make sure our goal for this episode is to make sure to wrap it up before the start of the Sunday AEW pay-per-view, because I saw the match list and I was like, oh my God, we got to cut some of these matches. I'm like, we got to preview all of these matches today, but hell yeah, bro, let's go. Elimination Chamber set the tone, the second biggest heel turn in the history of professional wrestling, and we all got to see it. Let's effing go.
Yeah, so I guess, we didn't really even bury the lead there. You kind of laid it out. In my estimation, this was one of the greatest pay-per-views of all time. This pay-per-view was so good from the moment it kicked off to the moment it ended. It had a lot of surprises. It had a lot of twists, a lot of turns. I thought this was so well-paced. Thought everybody got their time to get all their stuff in. I thought this was absolutely fantastic. What did you think of this pay-per-view? It sounds like you enjoyed it just as much as I did.
Everybody enjoyed it, bro. It was amazing. I was so, just excited because you realized, okay, there was going to be some movement towards what WrestleMania was going to be about, and boy, did they make their moves. I thought the Women's Elimination Chamber was great. I thought the way in which literally right from the kickoff, we can start right there. The women's match kicks off, and all of a sudden, boom, Jade's music hits, and Liv sells it so well. And man, that look that Jade had was badass. She just looked badass. She came in there and whooped ass. And I think what made it special was Jade looked fluid. She looked like an established vet. No wasted movements. It seemed like every movement was crisp, solid, and she delivered a right hand hook to Naomi and everybody. And then you got Bianca screaming, which added layers to it. It was amazing, and it set the tone right from the get-go. And then you had Liv and all the ladies showing out. I thought it was great, but, in the end, the result of who won the match, you could debate, but the women kicked off the show, and they lived up to the billing.
Yeah, look, Bianca ends up outlasting Liv Morgan in this match, and like you said, we could debate who ends up winning, but she ends up outlasting Liv. They were the final two. Alexa Bliss was part of that final three. Bayley and Roxanne Perez ended up getting eliminated as well. Now, Naomi was taken out before the match even started, and this goes back to kind of what you said. All of a sudden, everybody's in the chamber, and Jade's music hits, and she basically storms to the ring. She did a little thing where she waits at the top. No, she came right down to the ring, and she meant business, and she looked mad, and she looked like she was in fantastic shape. Like, she looked unbelievably conditioned. She looked so good. Walks into the ring, and she basically sets up like she's walking towards Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan's like, no, it wasn't me. Only for her to turn at the last second and annihilate a Naomi. She then goes on to dismantle Naomi, just trucking her, like you said, right in front of Bianca, who was in her pod, and she was crying, she was screaming, she was frantic, she wanted to get out of her pod, but she was trapped. It was so well done. The way they executed this was so awesome. Naomi ends up slamming the door, or Jade ends up slamming the door on Naomi's head. Naomi has to get stretchered out, and because she can't continue, she's now eliminated. this was such a great way to kick off this pay-per-view and tie up one loose end of a story and really help open up other storylines. I thought this was excellent. This was so well done. It was fantastic. Now, neither one of us had Bianca winning this match, but Bianca ends up outlasting, like I said, Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan put on a hell of a show. I thought she was probably the best in this match. She sold for a ton of people. She looked incredible. I honestly thought she was going to win the thing at the very, very end, but Bianca ends up winning the match. Now, you said we could debate this. What bothers you about Bianca winning this match?
Well, because I get it that you want to put her in the main event box office, but I feel like I'm more interested in the triangle that was going to be established with Bianca, Naomi, and Jade. So
Yes.
I would have liked to have just seen that. I don't really need her in the title picture right now. So I just felt like you kind of rip her away from something. So I understand. Look, she's box office. It's WrestleMania. But like I said, I'm biased. I wanted, Alexa Bliss to win it. I feel like you bring back Alexa Bliss. Now you get a pop from Royal Rumble. And what is she doing? Like, she's now in the mix, but you got to kind of establish her as special, bring her back into the mix and win something big. And Liv Morgan's great. But when Alexa Bliss took the 1, 2, 3, the air was popped out of my balloon.
Yeah,
Boo.
that was your pick. So let's kind of wrap in a little bit of what we got during the week in with the Elimination Chamber results here, because I think it just kind of helps tie everything up neatly. So we end up getting to Monday Night Raw, and raise your hand if you had Rhea Ripley losing her championship to Io Sky. Now, Rhea ends up losing to Io. Didn't see that coming. So it's going to be Bianca versus Io now, but Bianca played a integral role in Rhea losing that match. She was on the outside. She distracted Rhea a little bit. They got into it, a little bit of a pushing match. There was no stoppage called for interference, which was fantastic because we hate those decisions. But Bianca plays a part. Rhea gets tossed back in the ring. Io ends up hitting the moonsault off the top rope and gets the 1, 2, 3. Look, I didn't see that happening. I did not see that coming. I was shocked. What were your thoughts on what you got Monday night when Bianca plays a part in Rhea losing her championship?
Shocking, right? But I get it. Look, Rhea is a superstar. She doesn't need a title. She could be in any feud.
You could tell she was a superstar by the way she came out and that crowd reacted to her.
Yeah, exactly.
Dude, you want like The Rock constantly smacks his arm like goosebumps. That was goosebumps. Like,
yes.
That was unreal, the reaction that she got. It was absolutely incredible.
Yeah, it takes the intrigue out, right? Because most people are going to believe that Bianca's going to get the belt 1, 2, 3. Maybe you could elevate Io, but you got to have a nice run here. You don't want to flip the title that many times, and it's kind of been bounced around a little bit. So I'm intrigued by how it plays out, or maybe I think that, Naomi could now, really in the end, maybe I'm wrong. It does build intrigue because you maybe have Naomi cost Bianca the title at WrestleMania, and you now kick off that feud with even more heat because on SmackDown it was great. Naomi, called her out, and look, I get it, but it was a little bit overacted with, Bianca crying. I feel like Bianca should be more pissed than hurt, but I get it. The first reaction is going to be a sadness, but I think that you could go right to anger, right to the emotion of you did what? You went behind my back, and she should. I mean, I don't think that Bianca walking. I think that she should have just clotheslined her right then and there, like took a swing, a slap. I think a slap would have did a lot better. Like, she just sits there. Maybe she's emotional. She puts her head down and just slaps Naomi right across the face and walks off. So I think a slight physicality would have actually made it cool, but at the same time, Naomi calling her out and calling her an ungrateful bitch was awesome. I thought it was
great.
I thought that the feud is going to be great, and I do think that they're telling a nice story with the ladies, and it's well deserved. And I think Naomi came back for at least an opportunity to have one story like this that can play out over time. And WWE has put the storytelling into overdrive, and that's why we're just so hooked by it. It's like each story is like, oh shit, this is good. Oh yeah, I'm down for this. So I'm down for whatever's going to go on. But look, I'm curious now to see how Rhea's going to play out at WrestleMania. But Io Sky, I think, deserves a nice title run, and I think Bianca might be a pawn in setting up the feud that she's going to be involved in for the next 6 months.
Yeah, look, Io has been one of the best women's wrestlers in in their company now for probably a year and a half. Like, she's been outstanding. She's been fantastic. Now, she's been saddled with that damage control gimmick, which I haven't really enjoyed. But in the ring, she's held her own. She's done a fantastic job. And she's carried the weight of that group, especially when Asuka goes down. Kairi Sane's hit or miss. Dakota Kai is constantly in the IR getting worked on. So she's been the one constant that has really held things together. So her getting her title run, justified. Now, I think what you can do with Rhea Ripley as well as Bianca is you could throw this into a three-way match. Now, we're not huge fans of three-way matches here, but I think this could work. And I think that's where it kind of plays into what you said with Naomi. Now, Naomi on SmackDown comes out after getting called out by Bianca, and she basically says, yeah, I did it, and you're right. She called her an ungrateful bitch, and it was great. It was fantastic. Naomi looked fantastic. She looked really, really good. Now, here's the thing. I'm not completely sold because I think the better story is if Bianca had a part in all of this. I'm not completely sold that Naomi did all this alone. I kind of feel like we might be setting up for something else because if you look, WWE does this thing, right? It's very, very Francis Ford Coppola. If you've ever watched the Godfather movies, just before somebody dies or somebody gets shot, there's always an orange in the scene. If you go back to SmackDown, Bianca comes out in black, hinted with a little bit of white. Naomi comes out in primarily all black colors. Jade comes out when she pulls up to the arena and marches to the ring to attack Naomi. She's wearing white with red blood smears all over it. So what that tells me is Bianca's in the middle of this, but Bianca is more on Naomi's side than she is on Bianca's side. And I think the thing that was very telling from Naomi, and Naomi may end up manipulating Bianca into all of this. Because I think, like I said, I think the more interesting story is if Bianca plays a part in helping maybe save Naomi. Because look, Jade physically is much more impressive than Naomi. Naomi is an incredible gymnast, but physically, Jade Cargill is probably more impressive than probably 80% of the men on the roster. Like, she is a genetic freak show. You can have Naomi manipulate Bianca and have her help take out Jade. Naomi basically says, like, I was tired of her riding your coattails. This is something that we talked about on this show. I'm tired of her riding your coattails. I was tired of her getting pops because of all the work that you've done. She's not good enough to be in that position, and she was gifted something because of you. And I did this for you. So I think the thought is there, right? Like, the storyline is there for Naomi. I think it can then get spun around to where it helps manipulate Bianca into helping her. So it'll be interesting. Or, like you said, maybe Naomi cost Bianca the world championship. Or maybe Jade cost Bianca the world championship. Because remember, Bianca went out and grabbed Naomi. Like, Jade got attacked, and Bianca very quickly, like, it wasn't even a week, Bianca was like, okay, I got my tag team partner, let's go. So maybe Jade feels a little bit shunned or left out. I think there's lots of ways you can do stuff, which makes this interesting. And we've got a little bit of time here where we can really build some stories out for multiple women, which is absolutely fantastic. So I think all in all, what you got at Elimination Chamber, then what you got on Monday Night Raw, and then what you got on SmackDown, I think it really helps develop a really broad story, and they can go multiple directions with it. I think it's fantastic the way they did it. I thought it was so well done. Something I didn't think was as crisp and as good. I didn't enjoy it as much. And for me, this was the worst match on the card. And that being said, it was still a good match. It just didn't live up to what we just had, and it didn't live up to what we had coming. And that was the Tiffany Stratton, Trish Stratus match. Yeah. They end up defeating Nia Jax and Candice LeRae. I don't think anybody was really surprised by that. I think the big surprise was Trish Stratus wrestled quite a bit in this match.
Yeah.
This wasn't one of those matches where she was in for a couple of pops and then she kind of let Tiffany Stratton run wild. No. This was more of a 50-50 breakdown, and they really worked as a tag team. Now, I don't know if Tiffany Stratton legit is maybe dealing with a small injury. I've seen some video from not this past SmackDown, but I think it was last week's or 2 weeks ago SmackDown, where Tiffany Stratton was getting out of the ring and she looked a little bit awkward. She needed a little bit of help from Trish Stratus. So I don't know if that was done on purpose to kind of help offset some bumps and bruises that Tiffany Stratton's working through as we work to WrestleMania, but the surprise was Tiffany Stratton really got a lot of time, or I'm sorry, Trish Stratus really got a lot of time in this match, and they look good. They look good as a tag team. I thought they worked well, but to me, this was the damper on the card. But again, it wasn't a horrible match. It just wasn't a great match. What did you think of Tiffany Stratton and Trish Stratus defeating Nia Jax and Candice LeRae?
Yeah, I figured it was more like an appreciation for Trish being in Canada. They wanted to highlight her a little bit more in front of her friends and family. So I just thought that, okay, the right team got over. It was cool. I'm definitely excited that Trish is in the mix. I'm very excited that there's opportunities for Trish and Tiff to kind of do their thing, and at least now moving forward, you hope that Stratton gets involved in some very creative stuff. And it wasn't just bad timing for the placement of the match, but I'm glad that at least Tiff Stratton and Trish Stratus got to win in Canada, so that the WWE Hall of Famer can have her moment.
Yeah, it was. I think you're right. It was more to pay homage to Trish in her hometown, and that worked. And two dudes who were in their home country, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, this was an absolutely brutal match. And when we were talking about it, I said, I wonder if it'll live up to some of their classic ROH matches. And I think this did. I thought this was absolutely gruesome. The only thing this didn't have was it didn't have blood. And I think they saved the blood for later on. But Kevin Owens absolutely demolishes Sami Zayn. And he ends up beating him until Sami Zayn really can't respond. The beatdown then continues when he's going to try to do his package pile driver on the concrete floor, only to have the second surprise of the show, Randy Orton, show up and make the save. And we kind of touched on that last week. We kind of foreshadowed that Randy could be back. I said that I thought Randy would show up in this match, and that's where Kevin Owens and Kevin Owens' WrestleMania lied, was with Randy Orton. And it looks like that's the direction we're headed. And I'm totally cool with that. I thought this match was incredibly violent, and I thought it served its purpose. I thought each guy got their work in. I thought each guy got to show some of what they could do. Sammy's been written off TV, it sounds like, for a little while. Randy Orton now back and going to be challenging Kevin Owens here in the near future. What did you think of this match? Because I was shocked at really and truly how violent this was. They were allowed to do a lot more than what I expected.
Yeah, it was. Look, we all said before the match, was it going to live up to the Ring of Honor match? It did. It was great. It was violent. It was what people wanted to see. But what was wild, my note was, man, this is so natural. These guys could wrestle and beat each other up for the next decade. They just know it. And even though we've joked and said Kevin, literally throughout the run of these 370 episodes that we've done here on this podcast, there's been probably 375 Kevin Sammy matches, but this one, it just set it apart. And we joke about it that it was played out back then because they would basically wrestle every week in the Vince era. We said, wow, this one has its own little special place in history, and I think that it's very special. It was aggressive, violent. It was really a way to do a violent match without, it being, it was just, the way to put it is, it was an aggressive, violent match, but not too violent. It was good enough based on what these guys bring to the table that it was believable, and it was, for a street fight, one of the better ones, man. I was very impressed.
Yeah, I thought this was probably one of their best matches that they've ever had in WWE. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. Now, that match then sets you up for the Elimination Chamber. And the Elimination Chamber the men's match was absolutely fantastic. It was freaking wild. Absolutely nuts. I loved it. I thought it was one of the best matches we've had all year. And I know it's still early. We're only 3 months in. But I thought it was fantastic. I thought this really helped set the stage for what was a fantastic, wonderful card. In the end, you get down to your final three. It's John Cena, CM Punk, Seth Rollins. At certain points, John Cena, CM Punk shook each other's hands, hugged each other. They worked together to beat up Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins is eliminated after a go to sleep by CM Punk that pops into an attitude adjustment from John Cena. So he's gone. This leads Cena and CM Punk to sit there and start working on each other. And as they're beating each other up, mind you, Seth Rollins still in the ring, still in the chamber, hasn't left yet. CM Punk gets thrown towards the ropes near the door as Seth Rollins is leaving. He ends up curb stomping CM Punk, knocking him out. Now, there was some foretelling here, some foreshadowing that we should have picked up on, that we didn't. We missed so many things in what is about to come. We missed so much stuff, and we could talk about all of it because we missed so many things. We should have seen it all coming, but we didn't. And it's also kudos to WWE because the story came out that really shows they kind of layer stuff in, and sometimes it's just good to have the stuff layered in because you can always go back to it when you need to retcon stuff. Anyways, John Cena didn't hesitate. CM Punk's knocked out. John Cena, good guy, would normally have hesitated there. John Cena jumps on the prone body of CM Punk, pulls him back to the middle of the ring, slaps the STFU on him, and CM Punk passes out, allowing John Cena to submit CM Punk. And then outlast Seth Rollins, Logan Paul, Drew McIntyre, Damian Priest. Damian Priest, Drew McIntyre beat each other up quite a bit in this match. Damian Priest eliminated Drew McIntyre from this match. But that then sets up John Cena as your winner of the Elimination Chamber, going on to face Cody Rhodes, which then leads Cody Rhodes to come out, shake John Cena's hand. They have a quick hug. They're loving each other. Everything is good. Only for The Rock's music to hit. And then The Rock kind of saunters on down. He's with Travis Scott, and we'll talk about Travis Scott here in a little bit. Saunters down. Travis Scott's with him. Gets in the ring, and he's like, Cody, I want your answer. And in a moment that surprised, I think, everybody, Cody tells The Rock to fuck off. He legit said those words. He said, Rock, fuck off. And it made you stop whatever you were doing. Like, you knew he was going to tell him to go kick rocks, but you didn't know he was going to tell him to go kick rocks in that manner. It was awesome to hear. It was cool to see. I don't know if we've had something like that on WWE programming. I can't remember. Do you remember a time where we've had words like that said on WWE programming? Because I don't. I know ECW used to get stuff like that all the time, but on WWE, I don't ever remember something like that being said. Do you remember any time in history?
Right, and that's what made it impactful when he says, hey, go fuck yourself. It's impactful because it's so rare. And it's something that I think is emphatic. And actually, in certain situations, it just fit. Like, hey, you know what? I'm not down for this. Go F off. And absolutely, it delivered, and it was very, very impactful. In the end, it just, you and I, our love of radio, it would just literally be if somebody just went on the radio and just cussed. Like, okay, you go to podcasts, you go to Sirius, you go to paid programming to hear that. But it would just be like if our favorite radio broadcaster just said, gosh darn it, fuck Steve Yzerman. Just like that. And for all the Red Wings fans, I think
that's how I feel right now.
Exactly. It would be that impactful if that went down like that. So that's why it was just perfectly timed. And it set the scene for one of the greatest 10 minutes of wrestling content of all time, cuz.
Yeah. So then Cena goes in for a hug on Cody Rhodes, and he's looking dead ass at The Rock. The Rock gives a throat slit, and Cena's face goes ashen and just goes down. And you get mean mugging John Cena, who then turns around and absolutely annihilates Cody Rhodes. And the beatdown goes on for 10 minutes. Cody is bloody all over. Travis Scott gets in the mix. I do want to spend some time talking about Travis Scott. He's part of our news and notes. So I'm going to put him off to the side for a second. But John Cena ends up just absolutely kicking Cody Rhodes' ass. In the end, The Rock takes some of the blood, smears it on his white belt that says Cody's soul. On that belt, it has Dusty's death date on it, which I feel is a little
morbid.
Yeah, I don't think that's necessary, but whatever. Hey, here we are. We're telling a story. Let's go. But I think the big thing coming out of this, and this is what is great about the internet wrestling community. Once something like this happens, you start backtracking. You start looking for all of the signs.
Right.
You start looking for everything. And you can go back a year ago. And again, there was a story that came out from Fightful. And we can talk about that a little bit. But you can go back a year ago. There was a point where I believe you had The Rock beating down Cody Rhodes, and John Cena doing "You Can't See Me" was above the beatdown. Now, that actually was not part, and that was not a little thing that they layered in, but that was something that ends up getting layered in as they're kind of, working through all of this. That was purely by accident. But you had The Rock basically show up at I don't remember the name of the pay-per-view, but he ends up showing up, does a throat slit as Roman Reigns and Cody are in the ring, and he does it. He ends up doing it with the three fingers that John Cena throws up when he throws up the OK. Instead of doing it with, the one finger or the other three fingers, he ends up pulling down his thumb and his index finger to make a 0. And he has the 1, 2, 3, his pinky, his middle and second middle finger, and he ends up doing the throat slit that way. That was a sign. We missed it. We totally missed it. John Cena, like I said, jumping on a beat-up CM Punk, not hesitating. That was a sign. There were signs all around, and we missed a bunch of them. To me, this is the genius of Triple H. This is what I talked about last week with Finn Balor and having them kind of tease the demon character coming back. There are always things right in front of you. You just have to be paying attention. If you're not paying attention, you're going to miss the clues. And I think it is so fantastic what Triple H does with his layering of storytelling and how he puts things together. I think it's absolutely incredible. There were multiple other signs that were in front of us the entire time. John Cena was in an interview where he talked about, what do you think it would be like if The Rock and John Cena both went heel at the same exact time? You've got the leaders of two different generations of wrestling in WWE that butted up next to each other. Two of the best baby faces you've ever seen. What if they both turned heel at the same time? Like, he talked about it.
Right. But here's the thing that makes it special too, is that there's other clues that send you in a different direction as well. With the CM Punk saying money, maybe that could play into a part down the road.
Oh, yeah, there's red herrings all over the place.
Exactly. And here's the other part, though, that makes it challenging, is that when you go, okay, John Cena could be heel, but then you also have to deduce that, well, John Cena's only going to be around for 6 more months, and he's only showing up once a month. So what the fuck's the point of him being heel if he's going to do it for 5 appearances? You know what I mean? So the factor is that it was so good to throw everybody off the scent was the fact that John Cena's in his last year, which maybe now, I mean, shit, if he's going to be a heel and just be around, shit, maybe he doesn't have to wrestle, but maybe he's just around, but I don't think a year's enough to tell this heel story. Like, I want to see. I want to see how it plays out.
He's done wrestling after this. John Cena said that he looks to be involved in WWE, but he is done wrestling after this year. Exactly. So maybe, there's the caveat.
Exactly. So maybe he'll be around making periodic appearances like The Rock for certain angles to mess with whatever's laid out the next year. But listen, cuz it was just so well delivered. I loved it. Everybody loved the aggression. Everybody loved the reaction. Everybody loved what they saw because everybody wanted it for so long. People wanted to see heel Cena 10 years ago. And now with the Cena sucks, it comes to fruition.
Yep.
When he does his talks, it's going to be great. I'm curious what the reaction of the fans is going to be because it could hit NWO nuclear level. If you do it right, the fans are going to cheer this. But I do think Cody did a good job on SmackDown to kind of bring the fact that, heels do heel things and the crowd chanted Cena sucks. So I do think that there's going to be a large segment of people that just want to cheer Cena sucks. So they got to do a good job to make sure that Cena does some bad things. And cuz I hate to say it, look, you got to pay it off at Mania. Like, he has to win it. Cena has to win the title by cheating, by stealing, by taking advantage, by adding members. I don't care what he's got to do. You can't go on moving forward to get the nuclear heat that this could be capable of if John Cena doesn't have the belt. He's got to steal that belt from Cody. And I don't know how they do it with the maximum effect of a WrestleMania moment. Maybe it is CM Punk joining the Hollywood faction or buying whatever he's got to buy or whatever they got to do in order to screw Cody. you got to do it. And it's going to be great to see, because when that feud happens at SummerSlam and continues throughout the year, whoever gets it next will be worthy. It could be Cody getting it back. It doesn't matter. But whatever the story they're going to tell, everybody's excited to see what's next. And it was just a great scene with John Cena holding the belt over his right arm, right shoulder, and Travis Scott there. I know you're maybe not the biggest fan of Travis Scott, like taking his hands and basically destroying Cody's eardrum, but that's not the mission. But you love to see someone hype in the business. He looked good. He looked thuggish. He looked like, hey, I'm a bad MFer. When there's a moment where there's a angle with Travis Scott to just the right and to the side of Cody of John Cena, and he's looking like mean, like, yeah, we just got you, son. And it looked good. It was a good visual. So just executed beautifully, beautiful cinema, beautiful wrestling. That's what we all love, is to say, hey, Cody, you get beat down. And the delivery of The Rock just standing there was beautiful. It was just like, hey, I'm the boss. Okay, you said that. John Cena, here we go. And it was just a beautiful moment. It capped off what I thought was just a story that's ready to be kicked off, that everybody loves. There's no way around it but to love what we just saw. And no, bring me more. Inject it into my veins. John Cena heel. Let's effing go.
Yeah, it was executed so well. It was perfectly done. And look, I agree with you. I think Cena has to win this at WrestleMania. Let me put it to you like this. I was at bowling talking about this pay-per-view. That doesn't usually happen.
Right.
Wrestling fans, either you're like one of those like super obnoxious over the top wrestling fans where you're wearing constant wrestling gear everywhere, or you're just kind of a low-key wrestling fan. I would say I'm kind of a low-key wrestling fan, right? If there's another wrestling fan that kind of pops out of the woodwork and they want to start talking about stuff, I'll join in. And that was basically what happened at bowling on Monday. And I was telling these guys, because they were like, there's no way Cody's losing this belt. There's no way. And I was like, so I would argue you on that. And they were like, what? And I was like, I think you get a better story. Yeah. And I think it gets much, much more interesting if Cena wins this belt and now Cody has to go and chase and get it back. I think it gives Cody something to do for a while. I think it keeps Cena involved. I think it keeps The Rock slightly involved. I was like, I think it works out much better. Remember, John Cena is a heel. He can cheat the win.
Yeah.
And what the hell? It would be great for him to break the made-up record of Ric Flair and do it by lying, cheating, stealing, just like Ric Flair did for all of his titles.
Absolutely.
I think it would be fantastic.
I thought it was just special to see ESPN put a crawl, John Cena turns heel and First Take doing a segment. That was awesome. People,
it went everywhere. News. It was all over the place.
It was mainstream news. It was crazy to see. And in further updates here on the radio, John Cena is now a bad guy. It was awesome.
So let's go to Friday real quick, and then we'll come back to Monday. So Friday, Cody Rhodes comes out, and he is beat up. Like, his eye is messed up. We've got some news and notes later on in the show about a lot of the damage he has done to him. And it's all at the hands of Travis Scott. And again, I don't understand the purpose of Travis Scott. You're right. He did look thuggish. He did add to the appeal of it. But when you bring in these celebrities and they want to play a part in what's going on with the wrestlers, it needs to be limited, because what happens is you put your wrestlers at risk, and you could see it on Cody's face. Cody is beat up, and he's beat up pretty bad. All that being said, he comes out and he cuts a fantastic promo. He cuts an incredible promo where he basically gets the fans swell behind him, and he lays it down where John Cena is legit the bad guy in all of this, and John Cena, you now have the right to boo John Cena. You could hate John Cena. And he makes it incredibly personal with John Cena, which I think is the thing that is very, very important here. He gave a little bit of a history on the two, told how they would kind of travel together, how he was basically, John Cena was Cody Rhodes' mentor for a long time. He made it incredibly personal. So when he gets stabbed in the back, it is that much more. And I thought that was a nice little layer. Again, it's a little bit of retconning, right? It's a little bit of going back and you're trying to flesh things out to show why it's important and why this hurt so bad. But I thought it was really, really well done. I thought Cody Rhodes' promo was absolutely incredible on Friday. What did you think of Cody's promo?
Ooh, fire. I just thought that him saying, "Okay, John Cena, no justification for your actions. If you want some, come get some." I don't think you need to steal his gimmick, but I get it. Steal his phrase, but it had impact.
Yeah.
I like what they did with his eye. I thought it made it, more real that he got beat
That is
up.
real.
Yeah,
that is real. That is not makeup.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe they added a little bit of makeup to darken it up a little bit, but
Yeah.
stick around for news and notes. You'll see.
yeah.
You'll hear about what's going on with Cody Rhodes.
Yeah, Cody Rhodes, is ready, and it's one of those deals where Cody angry can do the job. Look, if you're Cody Rhodes, you're just like, oh my God, what am I being part of? This is why I come back to the World Wrestling Entertainment Company, to be involved in something so big, so massive, that's going to live forever. Like, Cody getting kicked, it's kind of funny, is going to live in immortality. And one of the moments is going to be him getting kicked in the nuts. But it's just great. Where were you when John Cena turned heel? I was on the couch and I was like, oh shit, they did it. They did it. And everybody's like, oh my God, that night in Toronto will live in infamy. Toronto gets special moments. You had The Rock and Hulk Hogan, and you get the John Cena turn. You had the Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 6. Toronto Elimination Chamber 2025 will live in infamy as the night that John Cena and his big, ugly, bald head turned heel. It was awesome. It was so perfect. Triple H deserves kudos. Everybody loved it. The moment lived up to the hype. It was just beautiful. Beautiful cinema and beautiful wrestling. That's why we love it. That's why we could spend 15 minutes talking about it. It's just how awesome. And now it's just the beginning. And even if it's just a year, we get the year of something we all want so bad. I can't wait to see. And then at the end, when he just walks into the press room, sits down, picks up the mic and drops it and walks off. That's a perfect thing to do. And no words, nothing needed to be said, and walk off and handle business. So I love it. Business is about to pick up for Cody Rhodes. He's going to be involved in something major. The Rock. It's just so beautiful. And the good thing is that even though he's talking about it, The Rock said, look, we've planned this for a minute to be able to tell this kind of story, and it's just one of those deals where it can be very special, where The Rock does never have to face Cody, but he can fuck with his world for a long time.
For sure. And speaking of bald head and fucking with worlds, that was basically the promo that CM Punk cut on Monday Night Raw. He opened Monday Night Raw, and he basically laid down the gauntlet. He was pissed because, again, he feels like his WrestleMania moment has been stripped away from him. It's been pulled away from him. The rug has been pulled out from beneath his feet, and he is incensed. I thought it was a fantastic promo. Look, I'm not a huge fan of CM Punk. I like CM Punk for a long time, and a lot of the stuff with AEW really turned me off from CM Punk. And a lot of CM Punk's crybaby attitude bothers me. He cut this promo. This was absolutely incredible. It made me almost like him. He called out The Rock. He smacked his arm for the Goosebumps bullshit. He called him and Cena bald. What he called them? He called them bald bastards, I think, or bald bitches. I thought that was great. He ends up calling out Seth Rollins and basically told Becky Lynch, "Come get your man before I put him in a wheelchair." I thought it was a great line. I thought it was great. I thought everything CM Punk did was fantastic. And it sets up, I think we are working towards CM Punk, Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. It really feels that way. They're going to be wrestling in a steel cage this Monday night. When you really think about it, the promo was fantastic. These two dudes going at it and having to be pulled apart for 12 minutes and them not being gassed out tells you what kind of condition these two dudes are in. I really feel like we need to get these guys in a 60-man Iron Man match, and whoever wins that just wins, and we can just move on. But CM Punk, Seth Rollins has been absolutely fantastic. I want to get your thoughts on the Punk promo, though, because like I said, you're a bit of a bigger fan of Punk than I am. I have just a nasty taste in my mouth from CM Punk, and this promo took me back to when I was a young boy and I enjoyed him. And at this moment in time, The Rock is the person I dislike the most in WWE. I can't stand The Rock right now. And it's not so much character driven. It's him. I do not like him. He to me is basically when you're having sex with a hot chick and all of a sudden you have this random thought of your sister that pops in your head and you're like, what the fuck is that? And all of a sudden it's just like, oh man, that's just a wet blanket thrown on you. It's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. You're like, what the fuck? That is The Rock for me. I can't stand The Rock right now. CM Punk is above The Rock in that pecking order. The Rock is at the very, very bottom. But this promo helped elevate The Rock very high up my list. Not so much to Cody Rhodes level, not so much to Randy Orton levels, not so much to Roman Reigns levels, but up there. He's like now in the top 5. Like it made me want to cheer this man. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. Did it give you goosebumps? Did it take you back to the pipe bomb days? Like where did this promo transport you?
Yeah, it was great. It's the culmination of CM Punk doing the work, being in the system, having real storytelling, real ideas, and taking advantage of his natural ability to hype a fight. So look, CM Punk is a professional wrestler. He understands the gimmick, and now he's emotionally regulated where he actually thinks like, okay, in AEW, it was like a guy that was just climbing uphill to say, hey, guys, we can make money if we tell stories. You don't go and have Adam Hangman Page say, hey, CM Punk, you're a cancer and you ruin wrestling and you suck. No, the idea is to build me up so that we can have a feud and make money and do business. Like, you don't go and say stuff that's off script and not part of a story that could, the layering of story. And CM Punk was like, what am I doing here? Like, we don't want to tell stories. We don't want to make money. We don't want to do this kind of stuff. We want to worry about guys in glass and holding rank over me. He's like, what the hell did I get myself into? Now he's in a company where Triple H said to him, you were right. You were really right what you were saying, but it was just the wrong time. Now I'm going to show you what storytelling looks like, what we can do. And CM Punk is like in a zenith in his life. He's like, oh my God, I'm finally at a spot in my career I can tell stories. I'm smart. I don't have to work like a dog. I can work smarter. And I'm not. Could you imagine CM Punk now working Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and trying to tell that promo? He would have been, dying. You got to remember, Vince ran house shows Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, then Raw, and then you go do a mini show on Tuesday, and you'd be like, you'd have a day off on Wednesday, and then grind it out on Thursday to get back to the thing. So by that point, that wasn't CM Punk. That was a worn-out, beat-up guy screaming, you guys didn't even dangle the carrot of giving me WrestleMania. Like, I would have did all this shit. I would have sacrificed for Vince. I would have took all the shit. I would have worked injured. All you had to do was dangle the carrot. And now they dangled the carrot and they didn't give it to him. But he seems happier than ever because you're telling a story. Like, I wanted WrestleMania, but he's not the biggest guy on the show. I mean, clearly he's not. But he can be. And I think he will be. And I think it might be one of those deals where it ends up, him not winning a title, but ends up being in the main event, but loses and maybe ends his career. That's probably what he should do. His last match should be at WrestleMania because it'll be a culmination of all the things he did. But you're getting the best version of CM Punk because he's in a company that believes in him, is giving him long-term stories with his feuds. And it's not just, hey, I had a feud with him for August and now we're done. Like, by now, in Vince's era, he would have been through 15 people and he would have lost 6 of those feuds. He would have went through LA Knight. He would have went through Drew McIntyre, would have went through Shinsuke, would have went through this and that and that. He would have been in five feuds a month because he's only been in 2 feuds. And each of them has been long-lasting and beautifully told. So this is meaningful. This is special because guess what? That look that Seth Rollins gave is real. He does not want to see CM Punk happy, and there's realism in it, and there's a story to tell. And it was beautiful because it all came together, and everybody's benefiting from it. So you can see why I have a fan favorite for CM Punk, because you know that he's a guy that's interesting, smart, and when John Cena tapped him out, he said, I'm sorry. Because he knows as a human, I don't even know if they were supposed to capture that on camera, but he knows as a human, CM Punk wants to be there really bad. And it was so beautiful that they recreated their spot from a match they did a long time ago, and they were just telling each other, hey, I miss you. And because CM Punk is a wrestler, and he's a wrestler's wrestler, he's basically, it's a beautiful, beautiful look at CM Punk is just a 15-year-old older version of Seth Rollins. And literally, if you're looking at it, Seth is saying the same things that CM Punk wanted 15 years ago. Hey, why is it that all the part-timers come back and get over on me? Why is it that the wrestling is being told in a way where I have a 1 week feud and then the next week I'm jobbing to some nobody that's new in the company? This doesn't make any logical sense. This is pissing me off. And then when you have a physical toll of Vince being like, oh, it's your wedding? I don't care. You're going to have to go to Grand Rapids. You're like, fuck, I don't want to go to Grand Rapids. I need the day off. He's like, we're going to have a big house. You got to go. Do it for me, boss. It's good business. And then the next night you're like, it's my best friend's bachelor party. I don't care. You're going to Utah. And you're like, and then I'm going to need you to go to Sports Center. And then I'm going to need you to go do 15 hours of radio. And you're like, God damn. And then when you say that to Vince, he's like, oh, you don't look like you want the top spot. Oh, I'm going to drop the belt on you. You're going to lose the belt now, and you're going to lose it to somebody. And you're like, I had the belt for a month. You're like, you're mad at me because I just need a day off. And Vince is like, yeah. I need somebody like John Cena. John Cena's going to work and grind and not have no kids and not do anything. And so for CM Punk, this is beautiful, and I'm very happy to see it.
Yeah, and you know what? I really like your idea of his final match being at WrestleMania. Like his career then comes full circle. Like that's the bigger story, right? That is the one thing. That is the big motivation for him. Now we're getting that WrestleMania moment, and it comes full circle in his final match. He gets it. And whether he wins or he loses, whatever, I don't care. But that would be gold. Like that would be perfect. You booked a wonderful story, and you booked a wonderful end of a career. Absolutely fantastic. We spent a ton of time talking WWE, spent a ton of time talking Elimination Chamber. It was a fantastic pay-per-view.
Beautiful.
If you've got Peacock, go and rewatch it. It was absolutely great. There was so much there. Let's transition. We've got a lot of stuff to get through with AEW. We've got Revolution this Sunday at 8 p.m. The pre-show starts at 6:30. You know how AEW does. They end up having 4 multi-man matches. We've got, at the time of the recording, we've got 1 pre-show match. And that's where we'll kick things off, and then we'll kind of touch base next week on what other matches they added in at the last moment for their card. But before we get to our predictions, I want to get your thoughts of the AEW Revolution Go Home show. I thought they did a good job setting up a lot. They have a lot going on with this card. They always do. I thought they did a really good job of getting you interested in these fights. I thought they did a good job of really setting things up for this card. This is the one thing, though, and I realized this the other day. I was driving to work, and I was thinking about our show, and I was thinking about different stuff, right? Like I do a lot of comparing from WWE to AEW, AEW to WWE. I feel like with WWE, I have to see those shows, right? Like I have to see that pay-per-view. And a lot of times, if we're being completely honest, the WWE pay-per-views are good, but sometimes they don't necessarily live up to it. With the AEW pay-per-views, it's like I want to see them. If I have a chance, I'll watch them. It's not appointment viewing for me. And the thing is, again, if we're being honest here, AEW pay-per-views are regularly 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10. Sometimes they're 14 out of 10s. They are generally exceptional. And I thought about it. I was like, why is that the case? Like, why do you have to watch a WWE pay-per-view, but you can watch an AEW pay-per-view? And it really comes back to the build for the pay-per-views. We talk about it a lot. The AEW programming is usually okay. I think it's been getting better. I think it's been getting more interesting, and it's getting a little bit more cohesive, but it's still not what you kind of get with Triple H on a week in, week out basis. And look, we understand that every week's not going to be a home run, and we're not even asking for that. We're just asking for it to help build a story and for it to help make sense in the long term. And I'll give you a prime example. My big issue with this AEW Revolution Go Home show wasn't even so much necessarily a match for this pay-per-view. It was more a follow-up of something 2 weeks ago. You go back 2 weeks ago, you had the Chris Statlander Megan Bayne match where Penelope Ford came out and interfered in that match, And then they continue to beat Chris Statlander down, only to have Thunder Rosa come out awkwardly with that chair and not really do anything. And things got really, really stupid inside the ring with the two heels and Thunder Rosa feigning like she's going to hit somebody, but then not really hitting anybody. And finally, the heels end up leaving. It was horrible. We bashed it. It was dumb. Thunder Rosa came out and even talked about it. It was so bad. But you then wait 2 weeks to follow up on what could be a storyline. And that's what they did here on this show. That was something that should have been followed up on last week. This happened 2 weeks ago. That should have been followed up last week. And this week you should have been building that story out or moving it in a different direction. Instead, you put it on this show, and it almost didn't really fit for the go home show. It was like, you just got to give the women time, and you need to get a women's match on. So we're going to give them time. Now, the match itself was fine. It was good enough. The heels won. It was whatever. But it is things like that really help distract from your build to these monster pay-per-views. And these pay-per-views are monstrous. They are absolutely huge. We've got 10 matches on this card that we've got to get through. So it is stuff like that really bothers me and really helps take away from me being interested in a pay-per-view. Now, I think this pay-per-view has got a lot of fantastic matches. MJF, Hangman Page. You've got Takeshita versus Kenny Omega. You've got Swerve versus Ricochet. Like, you've got fantastic matches. You've got dream matches on this card, and I think it's going to be great. But it is getting me wanting to spend whatever the price of a pay-per-view is at this time, 50, 60, 70 bucks. I don't think their regular programming does a good enough job of that. And again, I think this go-home show was good enough. And I think it helped get you interested in this card, but I still feel like sometimes it's a little bit lacking. What did you think of the go-home show for Revolution?
Agree with you. I think it's a situation in which your point was so perfect, which is their pay-per-view is a great culmination of the story, but the way they got there could have been so much better. It could have been even hotter. But look, in the end, it's a great wrestling company that does what it needs to do. And if you're just a casual and just peeked into the go-home shows, you would want to watch, because they do a good job of at least hyping up why these matches could be really good. And they've done a good job of reiterating, hey, these are good performers that want to deliver. And I just think that, they give their A++ performances for the pay-per-views, but imagine what they could do if they give those performances on TV. And that's where I think you and I agree, is that they could do more during the weekly television, because WWE did a great job setting up everything that they did for Elimination Chamber in the months prior. So let's go. Let's see what AEW is about. Let's hit the rundown of these matches. Let's see what's going to happen.
Yeah, we've got a lot here to get through. Our pre-show, we've got Big Boom AJ, Mark Briscoe, and Orange Cassidy versus Johnny TV and MXM Collection. I'm going to go with the faces here. I'm going to go with Big Boom, AJ, and Briscoe and Cassidy for the W. How do you see this one playing out?
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to this match, see what kind of gimmicks they're going to pull out and see how they're going to listen, a lot of these performers got to do some work to get themselves even more over. I do think the faces have a chance here to do some things and make some noise.
All right, our next match, one of the biggest matches on this card. It's going to be MJF versus Hangman Page. They've done a fantastic job with this build. This is a match that we've wanted to see for a while. MJF was absolutely deranged this week and offered to set Hangman Page on fire in the middle of the ring. How do you see this one playing out? Does MJF get the win, or does Hangman Page overcome the odds? And it's weird. Hangman Page has been a heel for so long, but when you're going up against the biggest heel in the company, you all of a sudden look like a really nice babyface. Hangman Page, a babyface.
I think MJF is the bigger star. I think that he's got to do what it takes. I think that it's going to be a great wrestling match, and I think MJF is a performer that has to take a big leap forward, because he's the guy. And Hangman Page, I think, can handle losing feuds and things like that, but it's a match people want to see, what they're willing to do, but MJF should be the guy with his hand raised after the 1, 2, 3.
This is one of those matches where I think you can flip a coin and it can go either way. And when I sit down and I try to figure this out, initially I want to say Hangman Page wins this, right? But then I'm like, what makes this more of an interesting feud, right? Like, can we build this out longer? Can we get multiple matches out of this? And I think that would be fantastic if we did that. So then do I want to have MJF win this first installment of this and then have Hangman Page chasing? I don't know if that's the way to go. I think Hangman Page wins, and I think you have MJF chase. And I think that might be a little bit more interesting. But again, I think it's a coin flip. I'm going to go Hangman Page on this one. I just think you give, again, he's now playing the role of a face. In this match, he's a face. You give the face the initial win, and you drive the heel crazy, and you have the heel chase to get the victory back. I think that's the way to go, and I think that's the way I would book this. So I've got Hangman Page beating MJF. Next, we've got Kyle Fletcher versus Will Ospreay in a steel cage match. Kyle Fletcher has one-upped Will Ospreay quite a bit lately. I think Will Ospreay wins this match. I think he gets his retribution. I think he gets the W. I could see Mark Davis playing a role in helping Will Ospreay in this match. But I'm going Will for the win.
Same. I think Will Ospreay, this match is going to be good. Has a chance to be match of the night. Will Ospreay, baby. He's box office. Check out his interview with Chris Van Vliet. It's also a good one.
All right, we've got Takeshita versus Kenny Omega for the AEW International Championship. Who wins this? Does Takeshita retain, or does Kenny come back and all of a sudden get a strap?
Oh, man. This is tough, right? Because I really love the push that Takeshita needs, but Kenny Omega is the guy that you got to establish further. It's tough because I could see Takeshita winning, but Kenny Omega is the bigger star, and I think that you got to get some more attention on Kenny, so I'm going to go Kenny Omega.
You know, I struggle with this one as well. This is another one where I think you can make really good arguments for either one, for either way. But I think you're right. You bring Kenny back. He is a premier wrestler in your company. You need him to be at the top of the card. I know this is a mid-tier championship belt, but how do you get that guy built back up? You have him win this. You have him have other matches with other guys. You then can have him hand that belt off to somebody else as he moves on to bigger and greener pastures. I think Kenny Omega needs this win probably a little bit more than Takeshita right now. So I'm going to go Kenny Omega. We've got Ricochet versus Swerve Strickland in a number one contenders match for the AEW World Championship. Now remember, if Swerve loses, it sounds like Prince Nana is out. Now I think the more interesting story would be for Ricochet to win and to keep the robe, and for Nana to now have to manage Ricochet. I wish that was something that was put into it all, but it's not. I think you're going to have Swerve win this match, but I think it would be more interesting if you did it the other way and Ricochet won. But I'm going to say Swerve, even though I feel like Ricochet would be the better booking if he won.
Yeah, look, Ricochet is an individual that needs to tap into that heeldom. He needs to cheat, and he needs to do whatever he can to make it so that Swerve's life is a nightmare. So I'm excited to see how Ricochet plays up this heel character. So give me Ricochet as well.
Are you taking Ricochet?
I'm taking Ricochet. I think Ricochet needs to be a heel and be the biggest heel in the company. And you got to be able to win and cheat and do what you can to establish yourself as a big, bad individual.
You know what? As you were talking, I just booked myself into the craziest thing, and I'm going to change my pick. I'm going to go to Ricochet as well. What if Prince Nana cost Swerve this match? It was an entire setup the entire time by Prince Nana, and now Ricochet is managing, or Prince Nana is now managing Ricochet.
Yes, that's what I was thinking as a long shot, but you said it out loud. That would be perfect because he's wearing the robe. It looks good on him. They look good together. Beautiful. Then you could have another match. They got to do it. Let's go. Pull the trigger.
I like that better. So I'm going to go Ricochet as well. All right. So we've got Okada defending his AEW Continental Championship against Brody King. Who do you think wins this one?
No doubt about it. Okada.
Yeah, I'm going to say Okada as well. Look, I like Brody King a lot. I just feel like you keep that belt on Okada for now. At some point, we're going to get Kenny versus Okada, and I think it'll be fantastic. You've got the Hurt Syndicate versus the Outrunners for the AEW World Tag Team Championship. I think the Outrunners are an interesting group, but nobody's beating the Hurt Syndicate. I'm going to put you down for the Hurt Syndicate as well.
You got it.
All right, Mercedes Moné versus Momo Watanabe for the AEW TBS Championship. I've learned my lesson. I hate Mercedes Moné.
Yeah, but she's going to win. Yep.
Yeah, she ain't losing.
She ain't losing.
So,
just have a good match, please.
That's it. All right. This is a match that you are heavily invested in. Timeless Toni Storm versus Mariah May for the AEW Women's World Championship. Does Mariah May get her belt back?
I wish, but no, because it's a waste. We're not flip-flopping this belt. Storm wins it, but Mariah May is going to continue to get over by whooping ass and having a good match.
All right. I feel the same way with you. I think Toni Storm wins this match. Jon Moxley defending his AEW World Championship against Adam Copeland. They did a really good job of having Cope kind of dismantle parts of the Death Riders. Really added a little bit of a mix there with Wheeler Yuta. At the end of the match, Copeland shakes Yuta's hand and tells him this is what respect feels like, and then walks out. Brings a deranged Moxley into the ring. He gets into a shoving match and kind of face mushes Yuta and ends up chasing him out of the back of the building. And it really seems like Yuta is now on the outs in the Death Riders. He's been one of those guys who's been in, out, in, out, in, out, in, out. It seems like he's out now again. And Moxley, incredibly pissed, incredibly upset. Looks like he's going into this match alone. Does Copeland win the AEW World Championship from Jon Moxley, and do we get to move on from the Death Riders?
Yes. I think it's culminated up until Superstar Rated R. Cope deserves a nice run. I think that you realize that with heels, they're better off chasing, and they're better off destroying somebody that did something that pissed them off, because then they're motivated to do even more. So I think it's a nice opportunity for Cope to get the win, culminate his career in AEW, and then Jon Moxley chases him, can do some things to beat him up, make his title reign nightmarish, be around, be an omnipresent force in his life. Cope needs to win it.
Yeah, look, I agree with you. I think Copeland wins this match. I think it's a way to get the belt off of Moxley. I also think it sets up the next stage for Copeland, which could be his match against Christian. And I think that could be really, really interesting. So I've got Copeland winning this as well. Let's do a quick recap. We both have Copeland becoming your new AEW World Champion. We both have Timeless Toni Storm retaining. We both have Mercedes Moné retaining her belt. We both have the Hurt Syndicate retaining their belt. We both have Okada retaining his belt. We have Ricochet beating Swerve, and we have fascinating booking with that. We think it could be fantastic. We've got Kenny Omega taking the International Championship, as well as Will Ospreay winning in a steel cage match. And we both have the Faces winning the pre-show between Boom Boom, AJ, and Mark Briscoe and Orange Cassidy versus Johnny TV and MXM Collection. The one where we differ, you've got MJF, I've got Hangman Page, and that will decide calling the card. Last week we tied, so currently I still have a 4-point lead over you, 12-16. We've got a chance to make some stuff up here and for you to close that gap if you get the dub ski. As we transition along, what was your show of the week before we get to some quick news and notes? Because we're kind of running up against it. This has been a bit of a longer show for us.
Yeah, it could have been longer, but we did good. I think succinctly hitting on AEW in a way that this pay-per-view can help. I think that the show of the week was SmackDown. Everybody anticipated what Cody was going to say. And two-time pledge allegiance to L.A. Knight. Good win. Shinsuke Nakamura, I think a great figure for L.A. Knight to kind of be used as the ploy to get L.A. Knight his second title reign. He looks good with that belt. All hail, pledge allegiance to L.A. Knight.
Yeah, I thought SmackDown was a fantastic show. It was a really, really good show. It was a quick 3 hours, which is tough to say sometimes. Right. But I'm going to give it to Raw. When you open with the way that you had CM Punk open the show, it really set the tone. I thought it was a really, really, really good show. And then you have the surprise loss and surprise win by Io Sky over Rhea Ripley. I thought that was really well done. I think either way you cut it, both shows were fantastic. If you're looking for a show of the week, go check out something from WWE. You ready for some news and notes?
Hit me with this week's professional wrestling news and notes. What made your list?
So Cody Rhodes is legitimately hurt following the beatdown at Elimination Chamber. Cody Rhodes sustained some serious injuries, per Dave Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio. Rhodes suffered a busted eardrum and a black eye at the end of the pay-per-view. Meltzer said Cody got hurt. I'm pretty sure it was Travis Scott that did it. I've heard he had a busted eardrum and a black eye. And you've seen the black eye on Friday Night SmackDown. The busted eardrum, there is a video shot where you can see Travis Scott punch, smack Cody in the ear, and you could tell it wasn't right. Like the way Cody reacted, he was legit hurt. So again, I don't think you need to have these celebrities doing these things and cooperating in these matches. This wrestler is a free agent and could be on the move quickly. As of March 3rd, Rey Fenix was removed from the AEW roster. It's been confirmed that he is now a free agent and could join his brother Penta in WWE. According to a WWE source, he is expected to be in WWE sooner rather than later and could appear at WrestleMania. On March 6th, Fightful Select reported that Fenix is expected to have his medicals with WWE soon. Also, it has been reported that merchandise has been brainstormed for Fenix arrival, with it being noted that if Fenix hasn't already signed with WWE, then it will be coming soon, barring any unforeseen circumstances. Both Fenix and Penta were reportedly initially planned to sign with WWE at the same time following the expiration of their AEW contracts late last year. However, this wouldn't be the case, as Fenix instead saw injury time added on to his contract. Penta debuted on WWE TV on the January 13th episode of Raw and has thus since gone undefeated in singles competition. Finally, WWE could bring back a one-off pay-per-view. On October 28th, 2018, WWE held one and only all-women's pay-per-view, Evolution, at the Nassau Coliseum in Long Island. Despite this event being well-received by fans at the time, WWE has not held another installment of Evolution in the past 7 years, but that may change. Corey Hayes of PW Nexus has revealed that WWE currently has tentative plans to host the event once again at Mohegan Sun Arena in Connecticut on July 5th, 2025. Posting to Twitter, Hayes wrote, WWE is looking to host an Evolution PLE in the near future. Everything is on schedule and still tentative, but it is currently set for July 5th at Mohegan Sun in Connecticut. We'll share more updates as things get confirmed, so stay tuned. As of now, there has been no official announcement from WWE regarding the return of the Evolution pay-per-view /PLE, but it looks like it is on the horizon. So you want to check that one out. They'll just be adding another pay-per-view to the mix. That's going to do it for this week's news and notes, my brother.
Oh, goodness. We got under 70 minutes. I love it. Make sure you follow Adam on Twitter at AdamRSTROZ. Follow the network at Detroit Podcast. Big times going on in the world of wrestling. Big news, big happenings. And when all that takes place, there's one big network to follow. That's the Detroit Sports Podcast Network in the mix for all things professional wrestling. Thank you guys for engaging. I know you guys saw all the tweets and posts and on X and Twitter that you saw and said, hey, John Cena turned heel. You guys were all into it, and it was great with all the memes and all the fun engagement that we got from this last week. It's a fun times. Make sure you like and subscribe everywhere that you need to go to find audio content and podcasts. Just type in Detroit Sports Podcast. 3 words, like The Rock says. I know Cuz was saying that it was a signal for John Cena, and maybe there's more behind it. Maybe, 1, 2, 3. Maybe there's 3 members of the group. But I truly believe he put his 3 fingers up for 3 great words. Detroit Sports Podcast. Let's go. See everybody next week.